Hello everyone and welcome to episode 51 of D&D's Nolzur's Marvelous Tutorials with RealmSmith. I am Jason Azevedo, your host as usual. Tonight we're painting something super special. It is the yet unreleased Cloaker. This is from Wave 12. It has not been, it will not hit stores I don't think until August, I believe. So we're really excited to jump in there. But before we do, a couple quick announcements. First off, tomorrow night is the finale of our Tides of Wildmount Season 1. That is where we run the players through the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. We finished the first adventure written by James Hake called Tide of Retribution. And now we are into kind of authored territory, homebrew territory, written by myself and our writing staff. And we're super excited to dig in. It's going to be an epic finale, 4-hour finale tomorrow night. And our Revelry Pirates, who are part of our community, will actually be involved, interacting, and anybody else who is on chat can interact live with us on stream. It's crazy. Not many people have done this. And we are super excited to have everyone there. I want to thank our moderators as usual. Tonight I see Shad in the chat, and I see some of our Revelry Pirates like Gary Diamonds and Dag and Sakura and all of those wonderful people. S. Good Kai's in there. Everybody's there. So happy to have you guys along for the ride, I should say, for tonight's Cloaker demo. Also, Tuesday night will be behind the screen. That is your opportunity. It's kind of a spoilerific sort of opportunity to join me for a question and answer session for anything RealmSmith, and that is also including about the Tides of Wildmount campaign. Any questions you have about that? We're not having a guest on Tuesday night because I want to talk about the Tides of Wildmount. I also want to talk about Into the Mist, and we will be announcing kind of the start of what our Discord role-playing community will be for the next season. So tune in for that behind the screen, and then we will start our Into the Mist campaign season 2. That is our Curse of Strahd campaign in mid-July, and there's another big announcement coming tomorrow night that I'd love to tell you about, but I will during the session in the announcements tomorrow night. Thursday, Players Table with Joel Auger as usual, and then back to Nolzur's on Sunday. I'm not sure how much content we'll have in the 2 weeks. We're trying to take 2 weeks off to prep for next season because there's a lot to be done there. And another event that will be happening soon, which I will, again, be talking about tomorrow night. But anyways, let's jump right in. I'm going to actually open this up on camera so you guys can see what the Wave 12 packaging looks like. And then we will go from there. All right. Tools as usual. You need the Cloaker, which you will have access to come August, in about a month or so. Brushes, of course, Vallejo brushes. We have a dry brush and a bunch of detail brushes. Water for diluting your paint and cleaning your brushes. Paper towel for dry brushing and for cleaning off your brushes. And a paint palette, of course, for mixing and holding your paints. Paint list is a little less than we've had lately. Don't need quite as much for the Cloaker because he's a pretty simple creature. But we have somber gray, black wash, blue wash, and I have cold gray there, but I'm actually going to be using steel gray instead for the outer kind of skin or the back. Then we're going to use heavy brown, khaki, bone white, and a sepia wash for the underbelly. Rosy flesh for the gums and around the eyes. Violet ink for around those areas as well to make them look kind of sore or putrid, and then hot orange and pale yellow for the eyes. All right, folks, so this is the Cloaker. Also, really happy to be a part of D&D Block Party yesterday. It's still going today, but I did an hour painting session, and we painted Bert the Troll that one of our awesome community members won. One of the members of the community, not our community, but of the Venture Maidens community, won, and we will be sending that out. I saw some questions already about seeing that one. It's not done yet. I'm going to have to take some time in order to do it, but I had life things to do this weekend. So anyways, so that is the Cloaker. That is the new packaging. It's very cool, very simple. Each of the blisters now are different colors. You can check out our Instagram for a photo of a bunch of the miniatures there. And then that is what the Cloaker is going to hopefully look like when it's painted. I'm going to crack this right open. Again, WizKids Minis are all ready to paint right out of the package. They are pre-primed. And this Cloaker is so cool. Check this guy out. I feel like that's the sound he makes when he attacks, with his little arms out. Kind of a stingray kind of looking creature. Super cool. And I also have the monster manual here. Cloakers are very, very cool. They look like a regular cloak, which is kind of the idea. These look like buttons when they're kind of just hanging around. That's how they lure people in. And then when they do, they attack by wrapping themselves and suffocating their victims. Maybe we'll read a little bit of that a little later if we have some drying time, especially between washes. All right. Let me know, folks. We have Sirenscape going. Let me know if it is too loud, because I will turn that down for y'all if it's too loud in the stream and distracting. All right, I'm also going to turn on my questions here because our moderators are feeding me questions. I don't know what's going on. Bruno is freaking out. He's barking. I apologize for that. What is going on with you, bud? Hey? What's going on, Bruno? All right. Whoa, dude, hey. Bruno. What's up, buddy? You don't like the Cloaker? Oh, maybe not for everybody. Okay, questions. Can we see Ethan's Wanty up close from last week? We don't have it, actually. He has not finished it yet. He had graduation. He just graduated grade 8 and is going into high school. Crazy. So he had that, and he also was at a cottage with some family. So, okay, we're going to use Somber Gray as our base coat for the back. Go ahead, put some of that in our palette and get to it, and then we'll answer some questions while we wait for that to dry here. Somber Gray, very awesome color. One of my favorites. I still have green here for my troll last night, but we can just turn that around. Waste not, want not, and then we're just going to Somber Gray all over. Not worried about getting the head or any of the areas that will be lighter later, but you can see how nicely that Somber Gray goes on. This isn't one of the extra opaque colors. This is just one of their kind of regular colors, but you can see already the difference it makes. Just so good. Or rather, not difference it makes. It's Sunday, folks. What the coverage that it has is so. That is one coat. Just goes on really nice, really solid, and this mini is nice and smooth. So this paint is going to go on very, very well. We're going to do kind of a stingray kind of type motif. So it's going to be kind of, or like a shark or anything like that. It's going to be darker on top, and then lighter on the underbelly side. So, but its arms are gray, so we don't mind going over that area because we are going to blend it in with some cool patterns later. Once this is done, we'll give the Somber Gray a black wash, and then we'll go from there. Let's look at some questions. What was that cool and creepy Sirenscape music playing? That's a great question. That is our dungeon crawl sound set that we created for one of our boxes a while ago, but you can find it on Sirenscape and you can purchase it for your own game. It's pretty awesome. It's going right now in the background, if you can hear it. And it was written or put together by, created by Brandon Perkins, one of our players, and resident DM. And we love it. So you can check that out at sirenscape.com/RealmSmith. Sorry, folks, my allergies are still bad. Sirenscape.com/RealmSmith for to download your own copy of Dungeon Crawl. Really cool sound set. All right, and I've been using it a lot for the temple for the sessions recently. Okay, you can see really nice undercoat there, or base coat. We're just going to let that dry for a minute. But that goes on so wonderfully. I'm also just going to make sure this brush is nice and washed, because we're going to go with the heavy brown right away. Just because it's obviously in the areas we haven't painted yet, so we don't run too much of a risk. The heavy brown is another extra opaque color, so we're going to use that for the base coat on the bottom. Gary Diamonds has a comment. As soon as I get some heavy brown out of this bottle. Loved your panel on the block party yesterday. Bert was amazing. Thank you, Gary, and thanks for joining us. It was an incredible charity, the Trevor Project, which we were supporting. You can check out all that stuff on the Venture Maidens Twitch channel. Now, I don't know if I want to go up onto this ridge or not. I don't think so. So I actually not messed up, but I actually went a little too far, or not far enough with my gray. You can see this little ridge here. I think I want to keep that gray. So I went a little too... But here's heavy brown again. It's another extra opaque color. Want to try and not get the clear stand here, as obviously it's supposed to be transparent, to suggest the fact that it's flying, as cloakers do. They're not a swimming creature, they're a flying creature. And then I'm just going with that heavy brown all over the base here, or under the undercoat. Underbelly, that's what I'm looking for. And this is too close to that. It's getting up onto the gray, and we don't want that. Also don't want it on that clear, like I just said. I'm going to have to get another brush for those areas there. Okay. Beautiful. Alright, so that is the Cloaker base coat. And then I'm going to come back in and touch up some of that, as well as base coat the areas I couldn't get to with that brush. So we're just going to dry our brush, wash it, dry it. There we go. Grab a number 2 brush, which is one of our larger brushes here. You can see. And I'm going to go back in with this somber gray and just bring back that ridge there. There we go. Come back on this side, same thing. And again, the washes are really, as usual, say this all the time, they're really forgiving, so the washes will help in there too. But you can see, and I like kind of how it's kind of blending with the somber gray there a little bit. Kind of dig that. Kind of dig it. And I'm going to come back with some of this heavy brown and start to base coat some of these areas I couldn't get to with that large brush. That's going to be all in here. I did miss some areas that should have been somber gray. Now his head is all this lighter color here. I get it right in all these recesses. These Wave 12 minis are pretty awesome. I think I'm going to do a bunch of them over the next little while. In our Discord, in the Nolzur's channel, I took a vote on which creature I should paint tonight from Wave 12. And the first one was the Cloaker, this one. The second one was the Nalfishini. It's a demon. And then the third one was Giant Spider. So we'll see what will win next week. think I'm probably going to do that on a fairly regular basis and just kind of pull the Discord on what we should be painting. So if you want to be on that, in on that action, on that voting action, let me know. Or, not rather, don't let me know. Join the Discord. And you can have a voice into what we paint on Nolzur's. Okay, so that worked really nicely. I like that. I like that, how that's shaping up. And then we're going to come in with a wash. So I'm pretty sure a lot of this somber gray is dry on top. It's not quite dry in the other areas in the bottom, but that's okay because we'll deal with that a little later. But we're going to grab a blue wash. Now I got black and blue because I didn't know if blue would be enough. So we're going to test it with the blue wash first, see how that goes on, see how dark it is, and then we can lighten it up if we need to. Darken it. Lunchbox 7979 says, can you put a bug in WizKid's ear to make the animated minis from the animated D&D series? That'd be great. That'd be a fun little thing if they did that. That'd be cool. Okay. Not sure about this blue wash. Again, we're testing it. We're going to see how it goes on. And then go from there. But as it stands right now, I don't think it's going to be enough. I think I'm going to want to... So I've got some green fleck of paint, probably from yesterday, on here. There we go. It's probably not going to be dark enough here, so I'm probably just going to start with this, and then I'm going to mix in some black whoosh. I like saying it like that. It's the best South African accent I can do. Yeah, not loving that completely. So what I'm going to do is, before it's even dry, I'm going to add some black wash in there. Mix that together. Dilute it a touch. I always dilute my washes. And then come back in with, there we go, with some black blue. And this will actually look kind of cool, I think. It'll give it a bit of a two-tone sort of look. You get the blue in there, you get the black in there. It'll be wonderful, baby. Wonderful. There. Making a bit of a mess, but it's okay. I like that. I like that way better. Not sure how my camera... Last night it was doing this too, where I was kind of... hesitating or stalling, so apologize for that, folks. Now I'm pulling some of the wash off the bottom here because it is going into the brown areas, and those areas are going to get a different wash. But I mean, it's not a horrible thing. We'll deal with that. Okay, so we're just going to let that wash kind of dry. There's lots of wash on here just kind of doing its thing, so I may just pull a little bit of it off. Kind of pooling a bit too much. You can manipulate that wash there. Yeah, my camera's doing all kinds of crazy things. Sorry. All right. Tam Good asks, I know you have went over this before, but doing all black. How do you bring out the detail but still be black? If that makes sense. Yes. So I would say if you're doing something a black color, I typically use something like a somber gray, and then add washes so that and I usually use maybe 2 or 3 layers of washes in that case, because then I'm just kind of pulling the wash off of the bottom as I see it kind of pool over. But yeah, if you start with a somber gray base and then use black washes to darken it, then that gives you your mid-tone kind of really dark gray. That is typically how I do a black color. I never do a black completely completely and then dry brush. I've done it before, but I prefer to use kind of more of a gray kind of tone for that. I am going to use my trusty fan for this. It's my biggest fan, really. Some bad jokes. Sorry. All right. Tam Good asks, I know. I asked Noah's Minis. Do you have any tips for keeping care of your brushes? Mine always seem to get split hairs or just hard near the metal thingy. Yes. So, couple tips. First off, when you load your paint, do not load it past this metal area here. This metal thing here is called the ferrule. If you get paint in there, that's what causes your brush tips to get really hard in here, and then they just end up kind of moving up top. And you can see with most of my brushes, that hurt a little bit. With most of my brushes, I'm trying to get my fan to stay where it needs to. With most of my brushes, you'll see that the tips start to bend like that. That is going to happen with pretty much all synthetic brushes. I have some better brushes that I'm going to start using soon from Vallejo, and that means just more expensive kind of sable brushes that will kind of not do that as much. But the other one is there is I think it's Masters brush cleaner. If you guys can put it in the chat there if you know what it is. But there is a brush soap that you can use that I have that you basically run your brushes in, you lather them up, and then it takes out all the paint from your bristles and keeps them nice and clean. Also, store them upright. Don't leave them in your water pot. When you rinse them, don't put them down into the water pot like this. That'll bend the brushes even more. That's pretty much it. All right. Curly1126 from the D&D chat says, what is a good set of brushes to purchase? My group are thinking of getting into miniatures. Depends on how much you want to spend or how serious you are about the hobby. Definitely get miniature brushes. You can get synthetics, like a pack of Vallejo hobby brushes just to try it out. But it's worth the extra money to grab like Kolinsky sable brushes. Vallejo does have some available. But yeah, don't use. I wouldn't use like hobby brushes that you find at Michael's or a craft store. I would use and find better brushes than that, especially fine detail brushes. Typically, I use a number 2, which is about that size. A larger one for base coating and dry brushing large surfaces. A smaller dry brush like this. This is a Vallejo number 4 dry brush. And then a 0 or a number. This is, I think, a 0 brush, and that is my detail brush. And that's it. That's all I use. Okay, this guy's almost. The wash is almost dry. You can see here. I may go ahead now. Then once, now that is dry, I'm going to go ahead and add the sepia wash to the bottom underside of this cloaker. I am going to use my larger brush because it just gets stuff done faster. And for this, I'm just going to do the same. Make sure it doesn't go too much into the gray areas. We don't want that. We just want it to pull, especially in all this really cool texture on the underbelly of this cloaker. It's super neat. And we want to be able to see all of that texture. So this is very subtle. Not super evident or pronounced, but with a large flat surface like this without a lot of texture. See, these wings don't have a lot of texture, and what happens is when you have a wash over something that doesn't have a lot of texture, you tend to it tends to pool and get kind of muddled or mottled. I still don't know how to say that word. M-O-T-T. We're just going to add that sepia wash to the face of this cloaker. Cool. Now we're just going to let that kind of dry. I'm going to dry you know what? I'm going to turn it over and dry the bottom. All right. Leah asks, do you do painting commissions? I don't have time for painting commissions. I wish I had a bit more time for that kind of stuff, but Nolzur's and our sessions keep me super busy. I have done commissions for like shows, Founders and Legends last year. I did minis for all of the players and things like that, but I really unfortunately don't have time for commissions. I wish I did though, and may consider it. You could shoot me a message in Discord or on socials and we could talk. But as of right now, super busy, and I don't have time, unfortunately. From Trobe19, I learned to paint minis watching Jason. Thank you, Trobe. Trobe is a regular in our channels and in the D&D channel. Philo from the D&D chat, who is also one of our moderators. Rick Rolls America, do you have a character mini for size comparison? Rick, Philo is one of our mods who sent me this. Rick Rolls America, who is Rick Ankney. I want to say hello to everyone, or want Rick to say hello to everyone. Everyone say hello to Rick. He's on the D&D chat right now. He runs an awesome show called Rick Rolls America, where he travels all over America to different game shops and things to kind of highlight people's shops. Check that out, please. He had a successful Kickstarter, and he's an awesome dude. But do you have a character mini for size comparison? Yes, I do have a character mini, Rick. This is the Yuan Ti, which is medium-sized, that I painted last week, and that is the comparison. So this Cloaker is hefty. Fairly hefty. I'll grab one of our other minis here. I painted this. This is a Drow, and you can see hefty Cloaker, ready to do some serious damage. Turn that back around. Keep that going. All right. Good to see you, Rick. Love you, buddy. There's several comments about my fan and its antlers. I bought it this way. It came with antlers. I didn't add them. I don't know why. Maybe it looks like, I don't know. But it came that way. I always get questions about the antlers on my fan. It's so funny. You can see though how the wash has, with the limited texture on the bottom, you can see how it's kind of resting in the recesses there. So the minis look a lot darker on camera than they do in the room, that's for sure. And also you can see what the wash has done for that face. It's brought out all the detail. And that is almost done there. All right. The Games Tavern has a question. What is the camera you use for the overhead view of the painting table? So this here is just an iPhone 7, believe it or not. We can't find anything that is better quality, that is affordable, for an overcam. We've tried tons of different options, but that is the best that we've seen, and it's compatible with our streaming software, so that's what we've used to date. Okay, so that is the Cloaker. You can see, like I said, it's mottled. All of this kind of texture that's here, that tends to happen. I don't mind it because it kind of looks cool, like it's textured, like it's meant to sort of be that way. But I am going to now, instead, I'm going to dry brush it with some steel gray. Again, steel gray is an awesome color from the Vallejo game color line, and it is a cool and very useful highlight color for somber gray. I like using it often for when I do somber gray stuff. I've wet most of my paper towel here. I might have to grab some new paper towel, and this brush is quite wet right now, so I'm really gonna have to work this paint out for this dry brush. Though I know I have a feeling it's gonna have to go in on a little bit heavier than my dry brushes typically go on because of the surface. Doesn't have a lot of texture, but I'm going against the grain here. As usual, you guys have seen me do this before. For those of you that don't know what dry brushing is, or you're new to painting, it's streaking a little bit, which sucks, but basically what you're doing is loading your brush with paint. So putting paint on the brush and then wiping most of it off on a paper towel, so that basically when you're brushing it along the texture, it's catching just on the uppermost details of the miniature. So you can see along the side of the wings there, it's catching the edge like that. Oh, sorry, knocking the camera here. Don't want it too light, because the Cloaker is supposed to kind of be dark and ominous, but I think that's probably all I'm gonna do. And I think that that's sufficient for the top of this thing. Like I said, don't want it to go too light. Do want it to be kind of a darker miniature. So there we go. Cool. Okay, now with the top sort of done, we're gonna go ahead and grab some. I'm gonna clean my brush real quick, and I am gonna grab another paper towel here because this is starting to get ridiculous. I'm gonna go ahead, grab fresh paper towel. Bounty is not a sponsor, but they should be with the amount of paper towel we go through. Question from Gary Diamonds again. What would be the one mini you would want paint if you had your choice of any of them? Oh, that is a great question. I am still waiting for WizKids to put out a Tiamat, unpainted Tiamat, like a large one. Also, I know WizKids has announced and is releasing gargantuan dragons. You probably saw some of them on D&D Live. I cannot wait for those in unpainted if they release them unpainted. I don't know for sure, haven't heard anything, but that would be incredible. Okay, so got my khaki. Dry brushing again, and I'm just going to. The issue is that some of this wash is still wet. You can see in the recesses, so I want to stay away from the recesses, and I'm just focusing on these raised areas. As you can see here, it's really catching. I also want the edges of the wings. And what texture is there is really kind of getting. And then once we're done and we bring in some, we're going to bring in some somber gray once we're done with all the dry brushing, and then just do like kind of a spotted sort of texture so that it's not such a hard line there on the bottom side. There we go. I'm going to grab my smaller dry brush. This is my number 4 so that I can kind of dry brush in here and get the face. Again, I feel like he's got this as he's reaching out and dropping down on unassuming adventurers in the Underdark. Okay, cool. You can see how that heavy brown, that sepia wash, has created this really awesome sort of gradient there. I wish there was more of it actually on that side, but it looks really cool. All right, that is probably enough of that. Still fairly gray under here. You can see how kind of looks much more vibrant on camera. So let me think here. Looking pretty good. Might go ahead with some bone white. And with bone white, we are going to dry brush some more on the bottom side of the cloaker. And that will, again, we want to focus primarily on the highest areas of that texture. Now this specifically is just going to be basically like a fine edge highlight, just to really kind of lighten up the bottom here. So you can see I'll grab the edges, and I just want to I don't want to lose all of that wonderful depth. So I'm not going all over, just focusing on the edges of the wings. You can see what it's doing already. And the very edges of the tail there. I might go back in and actually pick out some of these areas, but you can see how nicely that is blended using dry brushing. Really cool. I'm going to get some here as well on the face. Great. I may actually come back in with a sepia wash in and around that head, as it's a little washed out for my liking. I like it to be a bit more warm, but the bottom of this guy is coming along nicely. Okay, I am gonna come in, like I said, I'm gonna rinse this brush real quick. I'm gonna come in with my 0 and diluting it a little bit. I'm gonna grab some bone white. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna just pick out some of these areas here. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just really highlighting the edges where I want to kind of show up the most. So you can see I'm even using, because the surface is so smooth, I can actually use my finger to undo any mistakes or strokes that I wasn't looking for. But again, I'm just going in here and I'm highlighting some of the edges here to really make it pop. Like that. Bruno's walking around in here, you can hear him. And I'm also just going to highlight the very edges of this texture here, because it's such a cool texture. And I want to be able to see that. I did get a little area that I didn't want to, so I'm going to grab a clean brush, just wipe it away. There we go. Try and feather this in a bit. But because I've diluted it, it will blend a lot better than if I hadn't. Cool. Some of the edges of these spikes, edge of the tail. Bruno's just chewing on his paws. I can hear him. I don't know if you guys can hear him. He kind of sounds like a cloaker just chewing on an adventurer. Now, we haven't really been in the Underdark yet in our current campaigns, but who knows? May have to wait till next wild mode season though before that happens, because there isn't really an Underdark in Barovia. Or is there? But you can find these in dungeons, you can find them all over the place. They don't have to be just in the Underdark. Okay. Like a little hair or something on this. There we go. Okay, now before I go any further on that face, I am going, again, I'll just show you the bottom here. Looking really cool. Before I go any further on this face, I'm going to paint the mouth and around the eyes and all that kind of stuff. Lots of questions here, so let me catch up. Roman Wolf asks, what is your favorite monster to put against players? What is one you've never used but really want to? I think I used the Cloaker before. Pretty sure. A while ago. In one of my campaigns. Maybe it was during a one-shot. I really want to put an Elfeshni, actually. I looked at it. I really want to paint it. And then I'm excited to... I also want to put that giant ape that is part of Wave 12 against my players. But it will kill them at this level. So... I gotta be careful, but I think it's pretty high CR. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm taking rosy flesh and I'm painting it into the mouth. I'm also going to paint it kind of around the eyes, because he's got in the monster manual, he's got this kind of like around his eyes, he's got this pink kind of area here. Hard to see on camera, but this pink area, and then his gums. So I want to add that in, and then I've got my violet ink. Whoa, sorry about that, guys. And then I've got my violet ink to kind of make it look that sort of what's what I'm looking for, sort of almost infected sort of look. So I'm just going to paint it right into the eye, and then use the ink to bring out the detail again. And then also around the gums. So I'm going to go right up in here, as if there are gums, which we don't see them, but imagine there are, and along the bottom as well, because I like the kind of that flesh tone in there, like that. I like having some of that flesh tone. It makes it look really kind of nasty. We're gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna add that violet wash. I am gonna go ahead and paint. It has these little spikes as part of its hands that it uses to, I guess, eat its victims. Also want to thank everyone for watching Tides of Wildmount last week. We hit a record for viewership. We doubled our viewership that night across both of the channels that we're on the D&D and on ours. So we just want to thank everyone. I think that's probably some overflow from D&D Live of new folks coming to the hobby and enjoying what they saw during D&D Live and wanting to see more. So just want to thank everyone for that. Okay, so that is that. I'm going to that's still a little wet, I think. Let's turn that on a bit, because I do want that to dry, because that's kind of my next step. You know what? No. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in now, like I said I was going to, and with some of that somber gray, I'm going to kind of start to paint some patterns and some spots, markings onto the underbelly of the Cloaker. Any sneak peeks, teasers, spoilers you want to give us for tomorrow night's season 1 finale? You know I had to ask. That's from Shadster, who is one of our moderators and an advisor to the Plank King. Do I have any spoilers or teasers? Yes, it's going to be epic. Last year for the finale, if you haven't seen Into the Mist, our Curse of Strahd campaign, then cover your ears for a second, because I'm about to give a slight spoiler. But if you haven't seen the session, sorry, I'm just going to show you what I'm doing here, folks. See all these little cool, oh, you can't see. See all these little cool kind of patterns inside? That's what I want to do for the Cloaker right now. So I'm going to go across the entirety of the miniature and give that a go. And you can see, folks, I'm doing all this extra stuff. We've been here an hour. I'm almost done. So we're under an hour. We have 15 minutes to go. I could have finished this in an hour, which is pretty great, and a lesson for all of those watching that are afraid to paint. Okay, so I'm basically going to do this. I'm just going to go across. Bruno, buddy. Bruno. And start to paint some of this kind of cool texture up and around. Yes, so spoilers. I'm not avoiding that question, I promise. Spoilers or teasers. So for the finale of Into the Mist, we had our community actually spend bits during the session. Bruno, come. Oh, why he's doing that? During the session to actually throw attacks at enemies during combat. And so we had a big zombie battle, which we set up, and the zombies were attacking a town. I won't say where or what, but basically the viewers at home were playing like militia on top of the walls. And so I would say, as the captain of the guard, I would say, ready, loose, and they would loose arrows, and basically by spending bits in chat, each bit was an arrow shot at the zombie horde. And I was just taking zombies off the field as they attacked, which for me, it's the first time I've ever seen in a live stream, the community actually affecting combat and the stream in real time, which again was really exciting for us, really fun for the community. Everybody loved it, and so we want to do more of it, and this is our chance to do it. So tomorrow night there is something that is coming that is even more crazy than that. It is going to be stinking epic, and I'm so very excited to share it with our community and have kind of our cast and our community all be involved in the session. It's so cool to do stuff like that, and I just love it so much. So also coming around, folks, with some somber gray here just to break up the line on the tail. It looks light when it goes on, but it darkens significantly once it dries. So you can see it was hard to see at first, but I just wanted some cool markings on the bottom of this guy here. Just like that. Okay. I think I want a couple more here. Awesome. All right, that is that. Answer another question here. From Tam Good. So have you painted your DM mini, and if so, will you post it on Instagram? I have not finished painting it yet. I've been trying to get to it. As is typical, the things that we do for ourselves typically are last, so that has not been done. But as soon as it is, Tam, I will absolutely upload an image of it for sure. Okay, so this is violet ink here. This is quite strong, so we're going to be really careful and really, really subtle here. But I'm just going to drop it into the eye sockets here and around the edges of the eyes and just around the edge of the mouth here. And again, like I said, it is going to bring out the detail again, and it's going to give it this kind of almost like infected sort of festering sort of look. I'm also going to paint it into the mouth to give some shadow and some depth into that mouth, like that. Terrifying. And it's just really cool to allow it to kind of settle in those recesses around that rosy flesh. I'll let that dry. Corey C. Lund says, have you ever done a dry brush with a wash? The wash looks more translucent than the regular paint, so it might work well for dry brush. Lundy. Oh, okay. Corey Lundy. No, I have not, and the reason I have not is because it's very low in pigment, right? So I don't think it would work. It might work with a wash, but the problem is that it would take so long to dry that wash out because it's so wet to start with that it's almost counterintuitive. It doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense to try that, I don't think. It would just be too difficult, but that's an interesting thought that I had never considered before, but I think that it'd be more work than it's worth for that. Folks, this is going super fast here. I am running out of stuff to do on this miniature, and we're only not even an hour in. It's crazy. I may call the session a little early, folks, because I have a lot of prep to do for our thing tomorrow. So for our finale. Okay, so that is... As soon as that ink is dry, I'm going to go in, and I am going to paint the eyes and the teeth. I may also use like a steel gray for the base for that kind of underdark sort of look. I've done that quite a bit lately, and it's worked nicely. Okay, so I'm going to go in with some bone white. And I'm just going to try and pick out these teeth here, because now they are kind of purple and pink. So we want to bring back the teeth. A little too much. But I'm trying to just catch the edges. There, that's better. You can see what it's doing already to those teeth. Just bringing them out. Don't have to go all the way up. These bottom teeth are vicious. It would suck a lot to tangle with a cloaker, given the size of these teeth. And you saw the size comparison of a cloaker to a miniature, so and I think this purple is still a little wet, which is why the violet ink is still a little wet. So I'm just going to wait a little longer before I finish off those teeth. Time for some more questions. Noah's Mini says, I would love to try and paint this thing using the layering technique instead of dry brushing. Yeah, absolutely. I dry brushed it because it was quick and easy and you get a really cool effect. But using layering the paints would be really nice too, especially in the back there. You know, you're getting some of the texture through here, but I used dry brushing for time. This would have taken a lot longer if I had used the layering method. What do you use, this is from Dag, what do I use to bring out details when I try to paint my white tiger? Good question. Layering whites over grays would be the best way to do that. Making sure it's high contrast, so making sure that you have like a gray in the recesses and of right to white on the edges is a good way to kind of do that. A good example is the hair here on this drow, where I use gray in the recesses and then white on the tips. I'll show you Snow's Mini. Same thing. High contrast, gray in the recesses and pure white near the tips. Dab 1800 says, have you revisited the Baylor and fixed the object lighting? I have not, and I don't know if I will. I wasn't super happy with it in the way that it turned out. We all know that from the stream. I was honest about it. It was a bit too intense. I might go back, but I don't typically go back on minis. If anything, I might paint a second to use in conjunction if they ever face two Baylors, if that's even a thing. I don't even know if it's a thing. I'm just saying stuff, but yeah, no, I don't know if I'll go back and fix it. It's not enough of a train wreck to warrant that, I don't think. But look at that face. He is angry. He is one angry cloaker. I forgot to add a little bit of sepia wash onto these claws here, because that will, you can see how it makes it. Small little detail, but if you add a little bit close to the base of these, it really kind of adds a little bit of shadow there and makes it look cool. I think I'm also going to add some sepia wash to the edge of this guy. Like I said, I want it to be a bit more warm in some of these. There we go. Yeah, like that. There. Now I will come back in with a little bit more. I feel like there isn't really enough kind of nastiness in these teeth, so I'm going to come in with some watered down sepia wash in there too to bring back some of that separation. Like that. And the final thing is the eyes. So very, very carefully, we're going to take hot orange, and I'm going to, with a 0 brush, load some orange onto the tip, and just ever so carefully going to paint some orange into the eye socket. Now again, very carefully, you can see how I'm steadying my hand on my other hand while I paint that, and that will give you more control. Sidifar's question: when Baldur's Gate 3 gets nearer, will you paint some linked miniatures? Good idea. Maybe I will. Yeah, we should take some requests for that. Who is excited for Baldur's Gate 3? Everyone. There's like a little hair sticking off the side of my brush here. A little fluff or something. Right, now, pale yellow. I'm just going to come in here with some pale yellow and just put a doop, dot right in the middle. There. Doop, dot in the middle there. And then you have these crazy, scary eyes. I don't know how close I can get, and it'd be clear. There we go. Just like that. We still have an hour left, guys. I'm done. In less than an hour. Crazy. How is that even possible? But I'm happy with them. I'm really happy with them. I am going to, like I said, maybe I'll just paint the base. Why not? We're here. I have Julian coming over at 7 p.m. to go over tomorrow's stuff for the finale, how that's going to work and all that stuff. Very excited. We're going to do some writing and some brainstorming, probably talk about next Into the Mist season. It'll be fun. Noah's Minis asks, are you planning on playing the Rime of the Everqueen on streams after it comes out? I don't know. We have 2 campaigns we're running right now, obviously. Wildmount and Curse of Strahd, and I think we want to continue with those. So maybe at some point in the future, but as of right now, we're not planning anything in the short term, unless we do kind of one-shots or something like that. For right now, we're not going to be running too much of it in the near future. But I love the concept. First of all, the 10 towns are familiar to me because of Storm King's Thunder. My characters in Sentinels of the Storm, which is one of our live streams on our YouTube. You can watch it on our YouTube and on our Facebook for missing episodes that you can't find on YouTube. But anyways, we did Storm King's Thunder, and they were in the 10 towns, which is where Rime of the Frost Maiden takes place. But I love the fact that it's like a winter horror setting. I love that it's a horror setting. Curse of Strahd is so great and so good at it that I'm happy to see them doing that again. I do love a good horror setting. So we have gothic horror in Curse of Strahd, and now kind of a medieval fantasy horror. So in the Forgotten Realms, which is great. And so, yeah, I'd love to dig in at some point, but we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Right, as of now, there are no plans for anything concrete yet, so. Okay. There we go. We've got the base coated. That was somber gray. We're going to let that dry. Dry that nicely, and then we're going to put a black wash on there. Rothkmf says, my friends are wanting to get back at the table, but that means people handling the painted minis. Is there a preferred finisher, seal, and something I'm supposed to do after the final paint is on to make it be able to be sanitized, Lysoled afterwards? Good question. I wouldn't Lysol or sanitize any miniatures. The reason being that most of those will have solvents in them that will actually get through the sealer to the paint. So that's a tough one. A suggestion for that is if people are uncomfortable handling miniatures at the table, I would say that the DM take control of all the minis and just move all the minis around, and then it becomes more of a visual thing than players actually affecting their minis if they're sensitive to that and don't want to take that, which would be completely understandable and reasonable. I would say that you absolutely should varnish your minis after, and I use the Vallejo matte varnish for all of my stuff, and I would suggest that you all do the same because it's great. And you just want to spray it, make sure it's matte so it doesn't shine and doesn't look weird. But yeah. Oh dear. From the D&D chat, DC Lasser comments, we could have some Bruno cam time, just saying. Oh, I know, right, Bruno? He's great. Do we work with Gundam? I do not work with Gundam, but Vallejo has a really awesome line of, they're called mecha paints, which are meant specifically for Gundam, and they're magic. It's crazy. They actually are designed to go into joints and not scrape off. So check out the mecha line from Vallejo if you're into painting Gundam, because that is absolutely what you should be using. I've heard many, many great results and great stories. Okay, that is somber gray on there. Looks a little like the coat on the top, but maybe we can put some black wash in there and then maybe highlight it with something a little bit different. I could have used like heavy brown, but it's the Underdark, and for me the Underdark, again, I'm a purist, right? I like to have it feel kind of blue and almost like an alien sort of world under there, so I think I want to leave it. Now this black wash over the somber gray without a dry brush will, I think, be dark enough. I'm not going to dry brush it after, actually, I don't think. I think I'm just going to leave it because it'll be nice and dark as opposed to the rest of the miniature, and so the mini will pop up. What I will do, though, is if you'll allow me, I will run over and I'm going to grab, Vallejo has these awesome grass tufts that they released. They either released recently or are going to be released that I'm going to add to this base. Wonder if I can put this on without my fan running away. If I put that there, nope. If I put some paint bottles, will it stay? Maybe. I'm going to walk away for a sec, folks. Scream really loud if it starts to run away on me. I'm just going to grab some funky colored grass tufts, because I imagine the Underdark would have like bioluminescent sort of stuff growing under there. And they have some really cool ones in these Vallejo sets. Oh, fan is good. All right. Didn't run away on me. It's good. Okay. So we have some really cool ones here. We have like this pink kind of color. We have blue, which is great. think I want to use one of those two. We also have this like red with like yellow on top, which is really neat. I think I'm gonna go the red and the pinkish one. I think is my plan here. Not the red, the pink, the blue and the pinkish one. Dag asks, what is the difference between inks and washes? Great question. Washes are used for adding depth and shadow to your miniature. They're a bit more opaque than ink is. Inks are very transparent, and so you have so inks will change the surface color of your thing, but you want to use inks because they're very transparent on plastic effects, spell effects, things like that. That is where they shine the most. And washes are used for kind of opaque, adding shadow to miniatures. That's the main difference. Dab 1800 says, would you try to remove it or use a wash ink to darken it? I'm not sure what you're referring to. I'm assuming it's a question that you had earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah, the Baylor question. I'd probably darken it. I'd probably use an ink to, like a red ink, to make it more kind of, yeah, I'd probably use a diluted ink and just do layers until I'm happy with the level of, so the intensity comes down. That's probably what I do. Good thought. Mr. Cellist says, is Gaziel going to get to make a character in Curse of Strahd? I can say that I think Christina's going to take a break from the stream. I'm not announcing the rest of the cast now, but for sure we know that Christina has decided that she wants to take a break, and she's going to come back for season 2 of Tides of Wildbound. So that's for sure. And Noah's Minis has another question. If you use matte varnish on metallics, doesn't that take away the metal shine? It does, to an extent. Not completely, but it will. So then what you want to do is you would use a matte varnish on it and then just bring back a gloss, either brush, like a brush-on gloss varnish, and brush it over the metal areas and they'll shine again. That's what you want to do. That's what I do often. This fan is so handy. Oh. I didn't like the paper towel there. Okay, that is enough for me to be able to handle it. It's still a little wet, but I can handle it. And I'm going to take some blue. I'm going to take one of these longer ones. These are so stinking cool. Now, I have found that the adhesive on these is actually enough to hold it. I don't know how long for. I may have to come back and glue it on, but look at that. We'll add that tuft, just press it down nice and easy so that it, there we go. And then we have a cool blue underdark grass tuft in the back there, along the base. And I'm also gonna grab one of these pink ones, I think. And that'll bring some of the pink out in the face as well and complement it nicely. I think these are supposed to be out already from Vallejo. I don't know if the craziness of the world has stopped it or delayed it, but you might want to check with Vallejo or your local game stores to find out if they have them. That's kind of fun. I like that. I like that. Turned out really nice. Look at that. 2 hours, folks. I will put a base on him so that I know he's a large miniature, because I like the bases on them so that they stand really well, and so that I know for spatial awareness on the tabletop, I'll just use some some super glue on the base in order to stick it to a base. But that is a wrap on the Cloaker, folks. Thank you, everyone, for watching again, as usual. It's so much fun to do this every week. 51 episodes. I can't believe we've done that many. If you like what you saw, please consider subscribing, either with Twitch Prime or as a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 subscriber. It helps us to do what we do, and it takes resources to do this. Also, if not, just follow us on Twitch. Our socials are at RealmSmith TV, all one word. And you can check us out on YouTube. All of our VODs for Nolzurs and for all of our sessions, live streams, actual plays, are on YouTube/RealmSmith. And then, of course, you're watching on twitch.tv/RealmSmith as well. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow night for the finale, 4-hour finale of Tides of Wildemount. We're so excited for it. Cannot freaking wait. It's going to be epic. It's going to be interactive. And those at home are going to be able to actually affect the combat that is happening in the table. We are going to do that again. As RealmSmith, we love to bring interactivity to the community, and we continue to do that. And then Tuesday night, behind the screen, we will be revealing some very interesting facts about next season, especially how it affects our community on Discord specifically. You guys have a wonderful night. It's nice to see you all again, and we will see you tomorrow night for Tides of Wildemount finale. Bye, guys.